speech and debate memory would have to be in February of 2014 during my freshman year, where I did my first 2-day qualifying tournament at Kamehameha. And I remember it was just such an arduous process, having like 7 rounds within 2 days and such intensive research and pressures, and it was crazy weather that weekend, I remember. And I didn't think that it could get any worse, but at that moment, my best friend Brenda decided to chase me down Kamehameha Mountain, and I tragically lost my favorite pair of wedges. And for the rest of the tournament, I had to glue them together with rubber bands, but at least now I have something to hold against him.
My favorite speech and debate memory was getting to go to the national tournament in Dallas. It was a lot of fun going together with just a small group of students and being able to hang around the Hawaii group, and I really enjoyed competing in policy even though it was so different. I also enjoyed getting to do storytelling, meet other people from around the country, and to be able to watch the final rounds in person. That was something that I really remember well.
So my favorite speech and debate memory was the final tournament of our first year, it's freshman year. The tournament was at St. Andrew's Priory, and after we finished our first round, we were all so glad, and we all celebrated by going up to the balcony area on the poolside by Brianne's grandparents' condo, which was across the street, and we got to just eat ice cream and have spaghetti and just celebrate together like what we've accomplished throughout the year, and so yeah.
My favorite memory was this year at Big Island when we all got to stay in this big house in the country, and we basically like ate ice cream and partied, and I snuck a cat into the house and then it wouldn't leave anymore, so we owned a cat on Big Island for a while. But then at the very end of the night we all watched Mission Impossible and I fell asleep on the floor, and when I woke up everybody else was gone and I thought they all left me and went back to Oahu.
So, my memory is very bad. I can't think past this year, but I did think of some memories that stuck in my head, so it has to be good for something. One year, me and Danielle were timekeeping, and then Danielle was hungry, so we got pizza, like the big Costco pizza, and then, like, when you debate, you get hungry as well, so the people competing were like, oh, can I have some pizza? And Danielle's like, no, this is my pizza. She ended up eating the entire box by herself. Another memory that I have that I like would be this past year at Big Island. We were staying in this little house, and all the girls were in there. We were all getting ready for the tournament, or the day, yeah, whatever. And then everybody came out of the room like dressed and ready, and we looked around and there was at least like 6 other people in the same color shirt and then the skirt, and then we were all matching, and yeah, that's my memory.
Okay, so my favorite memory of debate is freshman year during the Big Island trip. Some of the girls and Dr. Wilson stayed in this little house, and Grace, Danielle, and I were all rooming together. We decided that we were going to stay up really late that night. And Grace and I did, but Danielle fell asleep on top of Grace. So we decided we were going to draw on her face with eyeliner, gave her a mustache, one of the curly kinds, and like wrote her name on her forehead and like a smiley face and something else. But the funnier part is while she was sleeping, she started talking about beheading people and pizza men and drawing and quartering people and something about like 5 pizzas. So it was really funny, and we were really sleep deprived, so it was even funnier. Yeah, that's all.
My favorite speech and debate memory comes from junior year at Big Island. It was the day that we spend around the island having an exploring day, and before this we'd only ever gone to the Volcano National Park, which was also cool and fun, but this year we got to see different parts of Big Island that I had never personally seen before. Like, I think we went to Hobby, and it was just really cute, and we walked around with and saw all these little shops, and we discovered this one shop where the lady was telling us about these rocks that could help sway your decision one way or another. Like, if you held it on the string and then watched it swing back and forth, whatever decision you were supposed to make, that would help you decide based on which direction it swung first. It was a little weird, but it was very funny, and it's a thing I will always remember about that Big Island trip.
I would describe speech as a lot of work because when you have a 200-page novel and have to condense it down into 3 pages, it's kind of hard.
I would describe speech and debate as emotional because you don't have a lot of emotions when you're making the speech, but like when you're presenting it and watching other people present their speeches, you can be overcome with a lot of emotions. Sometimes there's sad emotions if you're in DI.
I would describe speech and debate as grueling because there's a lot of long and tiring nights and days preparing for speech and debate tournaments.
The one word I would use to describe debate would be improv, because most of the time when I get up in front of everybody, I have everything written down on the paper, but I usually just say jumbled words that come out of my head.
It's exciting and suspenseful because no one knows what kind of argument you're gonna be up against next.
Debate in one word. Team.
I would describe speech in one word as soul draining. Personally. Why? Oh, well, mostly because tournaments are so long and drawn out, long-winded. They can get rather boring. It feels like you have nothing to do when your phone's died, you haven't brought your charger, you're waiting to break for finals, then you don't break, and then you just kind of sit there and look dejected. Presenting your speech is kind of fun, but tournaments themselves are rather obscene.
The weirdest thing that happened to me in a round was during the state championships, and it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and it was our second round out of the whole thing, so it was Thursday night, and my partner Maya and I, we were negative against a Kamehameha team, and in the final negative speech, Maya talked, and then in their cross-examination, they asked Maya, like, oh, is this something in the rule book? And she said yes, and they said, oh, well, do you have your rule book? And out of humor, Maya goes, yeah, I left my rule book at home. And so we had the 5-minute recess, and then I spoke, and then the affirmative, and then negative, and it was just, we had one 5-minute speech left, and we just wanted to get out of there, we wanted to finish it, and he stands up and he goes, I stop the clock, stop everything, I want to file a formal protest against my opponents. And me and Maya look at each other, and we're just like, we're so scared, and the judges are like, are you sure you want to do this? Do you want to go through with this? And he was like, yeah, I want to go through with it. And we waited for 20 minutes in the room, and the judges talked it over, and they didn't know what to do because of the rules and everything. And after I was like, do we really want to do this? Like, can you just drop the protest? And they were like, no, we really want to go through with it. Sorry, I just love rules. And I was so mad, and I was so scared that they were going to like disqualify us or something. And so we walked out, and Dr. Wilson and someone else was outside, and they're like, how'd it go? And I'm like, and then I just start crying so hard, and she prays for us, and then we like went to the bathroom, and we're trying to clean up, and then Miss Hallberg yells, round 3 posting, and we're still crying, and we clean up, and then we went against a Trinity team the next round, and we won, so it was okay. Yeah.
So the weirdest thing that happened to me in a round was when we were on the Big Island trip. One of the opponents asked me and my partner for the weaknesses in our plan. They just straight up said, well, do you have any weaknesses in your plan? And I replied, I said, no, not that I'm aware of. And they dropped it, and they went, oh, okay. So they did a really bad job at arguing, and the judge said that they were digging their own graves and that their negatives sounded like affirmative. So fortunately we won that round.
So I'd say the weirdest story or craziest story I've had in a debate tournament is when we went up against this team that said we should save all the tigers in China, we should round them up and breed them so they don't die out. And this whole time they're referring to these domesticated tigers as cow tigers. Now, I was having trouble keeping my composition as I was as I was going through this round, because they kept referring to these tigers as cow tigers, cow tigers, cow tigers. And so their premise was we should save all the tigers. And I personally do not disagree. So I just want to go up there and say, you know what, judges? I think we should euthanize all of the tigers in China. Unfortunately, I did not do that, and I think that's why we lost the round.
I don't know, the weirdest part was we were talking about nuking South Korea, and my team was trying to say how we weren't supposed to nuke South Korea, which seems pretty reasonable. And then during the last rebuttal speech of the opposite team that we couldn't refute, they started talking about the environment. So, that's, yeah. South Korea nukes to environment is the same topic in their opinion.
It was helium-3 that we should take moon dust from the moon and sell it to people on Earth for sustainable energy.
So there was this case from Parker, and they said that there's a decrease in the population of tigers in China, so they wanted the United States to fund China to help build habitats for the tigers and then send them back into the wild.
Okay, so I guess the weirdest case I went against this year was organs against Zach and Jordan. They wanted to buy and sell people's organs in China. And I was like, why? That causes more murders. And, yeah. Yep, organs. That was pretty weird. Organs was it was organs. Organs was the weirdest one.
I spend like 5 hours a day on evidence usually.
I've spent, I don't know how much time I've spent looking up evidence. Maybe a few days worth of looking at evidence, but I have a whole box that I lug around full of stuff of just evidence. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's the basis of most of your arguments, so I'd say 95% of most arguments are evidence, so probably, I don't know, a lot of time. I can't give you an exact number.
I chose congressional because the school required us to take Team Pact, and I really enjoyed the parliamentary procedure that was required of students to participate in Team Pact. And when I found out that